But first, I want to kind of set the stage of what is the problem that it's actually solving. So when you guys talk about harmonization of the environment, you hit on three things I've noticed. It's EMF exposure, the quality of water, and also free radicals that we know lead to oxidative stress. So let's start with EMF. Why should we care about EMF, 5G, Wi-Fi? These seem like wonderful things. We're all sitting on our gadgets right now. We're talking on something that's giving off some sort of EMF radiation, you could say. Why is that something we should be looking at to not only correct, but minimize?
Yes, that's a very good question and quite a profound one. So, where to start? So, because the awareness that EMF is doing harm to our bodies and cells is quite low, because even though there are lots of studies, like hundreds and hundreds, showing that it has negative effects on our brain, on our cells, on our blood, on our cardiac, basically stress. The industry that is basically behind it, for them it's enough. For them it's enough to put out a study that is showing that, see, like, the EMFs are not harmful, and then you have this the planted seed and two sides that, like, one is saying it is harmful, the second one is not harmful. So it is like a debate that is like never ending. It's a similar story with the tobacco industry. Very, very, very similar. That even though after they were convinced that the tests show that you'll get cancer from smoking, it took another 40 years for the industry to admit it, because it's a huge money behind it. So we are in a very similar situation. Of course, like, so the technological advance, first of all, I have nothing against technology. I do love to be like online, to work with Skype, Zoom, remote working, all of that. It's just the safety standards with the current technologies are very old, and they don't evolve with what is going on now, as the strength and the numbers of devices are growing basically exponentially. So it's like billion times higher, the EMF soup we are bathing in, than it was, let's say, 20 or 30 years ago. And yeah, and why it is also important is that it's quite subtle, and not many people can feel it. But when we are living in it like 24 hours a day, there are like negative effects of it. And people can find like lots of materials. It's enough to Google, and then they will see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to say it's very subtle, and it's like a drop in the bucket. And you could have a large bucket going in it. That's your predisposition. You could say your genetics determine how you are going to deal with something like EMF, radiation, toxicity, chemicals in the air. And each one is a drop. So each time you're on your phone, it's almost a drop, let's say. Or if you're sleeping near Wi-Fi and it's on while you're regenerating, of course, that's another drop. Sooner or later, we have thousands of drops around us, right? We're wearing technology now all on us. We have multiple laptops, tablets, kids are always on them. So these drops add up. And as we know, water can cut through the toughest stone over time. That's how many of the rivers, that's how the Grand Canyon was formed. So, we have to be cognizant that even though it's not something like a heavy dose of radiation, where if you walked into a nuclear plant and then, a minute later you'd be dead, we are talking about somewhat similar thing. This is radiation. The strength of it, of course, is going to be different, but we still need to be cognizant, because you look around, I look around me right now, I'm just surrounded, whether it's the microphone, whether it's the laptop, my cell phone. These are things that are artificial, and they will rip through the body at all times. And even though they might be somewhat low in that spectrum of power and radiation, we still need to be very cognizant about it.